part of that was my book. It was people will relate to these stories if they've ever lived with a pet and love them. But I want them to see behind the scenes, sort of, this is how we feel. We're not in it for the money, because if we were, I have to imagine if I wanted a job just for money, it wouldn't be this. It's a bit of a long route, but because we care, we're passionate. It's not easy, but we do it because we love it and we want to help. And I hope that I got that message across in the book.
Hi guys, and welcome to the House Call Vet Cafe podcast. I'm Dr. Eve Harrison. I'm a full-time integrative concierge house call veterinarian in Los Angeles, and I help other vets to build their unique mobile practices on their terms. This podcast is for and by house call and mobile veterinarians, so it is meant to give our community a platform to connect, to share our stories, to lift each other up, and to support each other. Most of us work solo as lone wolves, right? So for me, it's been really powerful to be able to physically hear the voices of my colleagues from all over the world and to get a chance to feel that we truly are part of a community of very real other human beings who get it. While you may be alone in that little bubble of your own vehicle when you're on the road seeing patients, I welcome you to join our community by tuning into our own podcast when you're on your way to your next house call. Whether you're a super experienced house call vet with 30 years of experience, you're a brand new prospective house call vet just looking to get started, or you're house call curious, there will be something for you in this podcast. Each episode, you will hear interviews from other mobile veterinarians just like yourself who are doing unique and innovative things, vets who are sharing their stories, their struggles and challenges, and you can also look forward to hearing valuable information and perspectives from specialists and experts outside of our micro niche. And finally, if becoming a house call veterinarian is something that you've been thinking about exploring, or you're looking for some extra support getting your own mobile practice to feel more profitable and sustainable for you, check out the information in the show notes about my course and our above and beyond supportive private community for members only, plus our monthly group coaching sessions within the House Call Vet Academy. You can also check out my free public Facebook group, which is also called the House Call Vet Cafe, the same name as this podcast, and which is a warm and cozy community for mobile vets to support each other in professional and personal development, in creative entrepreneurship, and in friendship. So thank you guys for spending time with me today. Let's dive into the episode.
Hey everyone. Today we have a super cool guest that I'm really excited to introduce you to. Today we have Dr. Dawn Filos, who grew up in New Jersey in a family of eccentric animal lovers. My favorite kind of family. I also have a very eccentric family. She grew up in an eccentric family of animal lovers, preparing her for a lifelong career spent with like-minded pet people. She spent most of her career in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and Bucks County, where she remained after veterinary school and for most of the last 32 years. She now splits her time between Scottsdale, Arizona, and East Hampton, New York. Her blog, drdawnthepetvet.com, was originally started to augment pet first aid classes and pet CPR courses she taught for years. It began as more informational and evolved to focus on the benefits of the human-animal bond, a topic which interests her and features prominently and often throughout the book. She is a house call veterinarian and had a practice called Bucks Mercer Mobile Vet, straddling New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and she has written a book about her experiences as a house call veterinarian as well, called Tales of a Pet Vet, Stories from the Clinic and House Calls. And this is kind of how Dr. Dawn and I got to connect. She presented her book to me and asked me to read it and check it out and see what I thought about it, and I was able to write a little blurb about the book. It's wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and just read that to you now to give you like a little flavor of what her book is about. And then we'll get to meet Dr. Dawn. So what I wrote about Tales of a Pet Vet was Dr. Dawn Filos has written a charming and delightful memoir about her life as a veterinarian from house calls to working in the clinic. This book is filled with real life, sweet, humorous, goofy, heartbreaking, and extraordinary stories about the life of a veterinarian and our beloved furry, scaly, feathery, and hooved patients. Veterinarians, future veterinarians, and lovers of pets will all find value in this book. I commend Dr. Dawn for capturing these precious, inspiring stories of her patients and for sharing them with all of us. So congratulations, Dr. Dawn. I was so excited to get a sneak peek into your book and that you reached out to me, and I'm so excited to have you here on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful that you read the book, that you liked it. I feel like, even though it's perfect for people that are in the profession, it's not just for us, it's for pet lovers, but we can extra laugh at some of the crazy, I think we can relate. And that's what I enjoy your social media and your podcasts, but sometimes it's just only we can get it. And so I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Hey, welcome. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. I mean, that is kind of the basis of this podcast that like people who've been in people's homes and doing what we do have these like ridiculous stories that it's just like you had to be there is like the whole vibe, right? And so, yeah, I loved hearing your stories. And for our listeners, we're going to talk about some funny and ridiculous things that have happened to both me and Dr. Dawn on house calls. And so let's see. To start with, what is your favorite snack to eat in the car?
Well, I eat pretzels and cheese. I feel like they're protein. I get low blood sugar. I have 3 children, and for 3 pregnancies, I was so sick that for the first 3, 4 months, times 3, so like a year of my life, I say they're 1/3 pretzels and cheese. So I started with a minivan that had one of those little fridge, and I would keep the cheese in there. And then I just switched to ice packs for
Oh,
my.
so that's like a great, perfect snack. Like, I love it. And so you're saying your kids are 1/3 pretzels and cheese each?
I used to just say to them, that's all I ate for 3 months. So, you probably have an affinity towards cheese and pretzels, or maybe the opposite. But
There's like epigenetic changes to their DNA resembling cheese and pretzels. I love it.
if it could sustain me for a year of my life, I figured it was a good snack.
Love it. Oh my God, that's hilarious. So, can you tell me before we get into your book, and I know you cover some of this inside your book, can you tell me a little bit about how you became a house call vet and what your journey was like to get there?
Yeah. So I did, I think every aspect of private practice. I worked in full time in surgery, and then I went to do relief based on circumstances. I was a mom, my husband was traveling. But I really missed, I would always be calling the following day from a relief shift, which I did for about 10 years, like following up on progress of patients. And I never shied away from these really kind of complicated medical cases. I enjoyed them as well as behavioral and all the others. And I really missed that connection with patients. And then what happened one day is I did an in-home euthanasia. And I said, this is a game changer. I need to do more of this. And I had been thinking about starting a mobile practice, which there weren't really many back in 2014. Now, thankfully, there are. And so it was kind of, a deep dive into it. But another aspect of me, which I talk about a lot in the book, is I just love being able to connect with my clients. I love particularly senior clients. And I had one after another that were really not even coming to the vet often as they should have, because they had to get an Uber or somebody to drive them. They were sort of limited, and it broke my heart. And I tried to start through the high school. You know how they have with kids, they'll have community service. And I thought I would like to start a business where teenagers could help drive them and let them shop and bring them to the vet. But that, in theory, was a great idea. But in reality, the liability of young kids driving people, it was astronomical. That didn't happen. So I said, okay, I'll come to them. And so I learned a lot about, initially it was similar in cost to going to the vet, but I came to you in theory that you'll see them much more often instead of them waiting until things have progressed so badly that by the time they come to the hospital, a small problem that could have been fixed a week ago is now a big problem. I learned that maybe that pricing idea was not ideal. I sort of had to, make it profitable to keep doing it, but that's what motivated me.
That's amazing. I really love that. And I think your idea about pairing teenagers with people who have mobility issues is like so sweet and so genius. But yes, at the same time, the
And that,
liability of it. Working with teenagers, that's a whole other thing, but, like, what a thoughtful approach, and, like, I know, like, I was gonna ask you about this later because I know you work also with homeless shelters, and you have a very sort of, like, altruistic component about you, where you reach out, like, beyond what is, like, expected as a veterinarian. Can you actually tell me about that now? It feels like kind of a good segue to hear a little bit about that aspect of what you do.
Yeah, well, it's a combination, and another thing, before I forget, what you mentioned about seniors and younger, because there's this ageism, which isn't just with teenagers. It's so important to see them as, I have always been impressed by like my life. My book is mainly not even about me. It's about all the wonderful people I've met. They have far more interesting stories than I have. And I would just like love to sit and listen to them. And when you're in a brick and mortar and people are timing you and you have 15 minutes, you don't have that opportunity. But particularly my senior clients changed me for the better, helped me see them, and really, some are you work with the public, there are challenges, but some are a little more challenging than others. And I talk about a few of them in my book. And so the other part of now that I'm sort of semi-retired and paint and write, and I get to volunteer more. And I used to volunteer because I'm an artist, and I would volunteer in the art capacity and the childcare capacity and the decorating and all of that. And then it's so funny. I have to admit, my senior dog couldn't walk really. So I had her in one of those dog carriages. And I used to be like, who are these people? And then it was me, like, duh, they can't walk. And I met my neighbor who was in the same situation. We got to talking, and she's involved in this homeless shelter. She's a dog lover and raised like $55 million with them to build this incredible facility. It's St. Vincent de Paul in Phoenix, which is the biggest in the country, where homeless or home endangered families can go and are not reluctant to go to a shelter for protection or whatever it is that they need, because they don't want to lose their pets, so they can bring their pets. And they have an affiliation with Midwest Veterinary where they do clinics and so forth. And now they have this hospital. It's to me the most amazing concept. And I hope to spread the word about that. And I think they should be everywhere. It's just a question of how to do it. So that inspired me quite a bit as well.
That's incredible. Yeah, you've got your paws in a lot of different pots and cauldrons, and I love it. I love the work that you're doing and how the homeless shelter work like does link in with animals and veterinary too. I didn't even realize that component that people can bring their animals there and that there's a veterinary connection. So that's wonderful. I would like to come back a little bit to your book. Can you tell me? So is this the first book you've written, or no? You've had other books out too. Is that right?
This is the first book I've ever written, and you're younger than I am, but I'm older, and it was starting to get a little physically old, wrestling with the mastiff to trim its nails and pulling my back out with lifting a euthanasia or something, even though we had tools to help us. I think I was aging out of that. And I really enjoyed writing. That started with my blog, which was it's almost 20 years. And then I started journaling and found that to be very therapeutic, and just writing down to help me process personal situations, but a lot of these veterinary situations. And so this is my first book, but it stemmed from the blog. And then I've contributed to some medical mysteries in the newspaper, and I'm doing more writing. But what I learned on the blog, which the blog started because I was teaching pet first aid. And so I had all this information that I thought, well, go to my blog. And then I started writing these personal anecdotes about like how poorly trained my dogs were, or how do you work from home with a barking dog, or the human animal bond benefits. That really is another important passion to me: emotional, psychological, physiological. And I got a lot of feedback on those. And I thought maybe this is what people want to hear more of. And I branched out from that into the book.
That's amazing. I mean, it sounds like you were kind of an early adopter of blogging, like 20 years. Like at 20 years, I don't know that I knew what a blog was, like So, like, look at you go and, like, look what it developed into. That's so incredible and inspiring.
Yeah, I'd say about a year before I started the blog, I learned how to put an attachment in an email. So I came quite a long way. I was like a techno idiot, but you can't, you just kind of, you have to learn stuff and exercise your brain and look at all this fun stuff that's come from it.
I remember, I mean, I just kinda got a flashback, like, we were all techno idiots, like, we are all actively techno idiots, like, now we have AI, we're trying to, like, figure out how to navigate that, and, like, what is real, what is not real, and, like, there's so many things. I just had a total flashback to, like, 7th grade when I sent my first email to my best friend, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is insane." She was sitting right next to me at the computer lab, and I was like, "I just sent you an email, did you get it?" So it's like it's crazy, like, the amount of technology that our, like, mere mortal brains have, like, been expected to accommodate in just our lifetimes, like, unheard of, insane amounts of, like, technological growth that we've had to accommodate, but, like, that we've got to benefit from, right? Like, so, so interesting. So you also mentioned there's 2 other things that I wanna mention, like, you mentioned the journaling for processing and, like, healing and, like, dealing with things that came up that were maybe not so easy or not so funny, right?
Right.
And I have a very robust journaling practice. I am right there with you that I use this as a tool for processing things and coming up with ideas. A lot of my ideas for what I do all came through like channeled in a journal, like just word vomit, like this is on my mind. And then I look back and I'm like, holy shit, that's a good idea. And I love that you mentioned that because I think I've been leaning more and more into it in a more intentional way. And I think the way that this sort of like led to a book, it's just the perfect expression of how journaling can manifest very real things. Like it seems like a task that maybe is just for you, but actually it really connects into the real 3D world of what we do and how we behave and what we bring to others and things like that. So I just wanted to acknowledge that because I think that's really, really cool how your journaling literally led to a book.
Yeah, I agree. And it was unexpected because honestly, I hated writing in elementary. I mean, I didn't go to the greatest high school. I hated it. I was terrible at it. And then go figure, when you're journaling, nobody's grading you. And sometimes you can't really talk to anyone about it. And you sort of talk it through yourself. And what I used to do, I always used to say to my husband, I used to jog quite a bit. And I would work through before I opened my mouth and started an argument or whatever. I would just process it on a run. And like by the time I'd done that, I was no longer angry or I put it in perspective. Journaling sort of became that for me. And then you can always edit it later, or you can pay an editor to help
Yeah.
hear you speak your mother tongue properly, which apparently I didn't quite so well as I thought. So I wanted to get my message out, of which there are many, but not embarrass myself as a science nerd who wasn't a literature major. So I had some very great, one in particular, or two great editors that really helped me not just do that grammar, but format and different things that I helped me love the book. There was a middle part of it where we were editing out for editing's sake, just for volume. And I didn't love it at one point, and then I finally got back and put some of my favorite stories in there and changed the format a little bit. And now I'm happier and more proud of it. I think it has a lot, but it also, and I like to say, you'll learn some, but it's mainly stories with information to drive the stories. And another thing that I've read every single veterinary memoir that there is, and everyone, they're all different and they're all great in their own way. But I have to say, you will laugh probably a lot more in my book. Definitely laugh more than you will cry, but more than other books, because it's just some of the situations we get into as mobile vets in particular are just so out there that I had to share them.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, I mean, there are quite a few memoirs. And I think, I mean, you touched on the fact that everyone's story is going to be different. I love that there's humor in yours. I mean, inherently, when we work with animals, like we love animals because they're funny. We love animals because they're goofy. They're ridiculous. They do the most, like mind explodingly silly things. And it keeps us out of like the seriousness of our own lives. I think that's one of the main reasons that we love animals. So I love that you brought that to the forefront for people
Yeah.
to enjoy and to like highlight, shine a spotlight on that aspect of your own life. Hey there, it's Eve Harrison. There's a question that I get from veterinarians all the time. How do you do concierge practice in your house call vet practice? Another question I get is, what is concierge practice? So the term concierge definitely gets thrown around in a lot of ways that are different from what I mean. But for me, I'm a house call vet, but as a mini micro niche within house call vet practice, I specifically have a concierge practice. So among other features, concierge practice functions as a membership container, but that's not the only thing that makes concierge concierge. What concierge practice really means for me is that I run a thriving, fully self-sustaining house call practice where I see way fewer patients. I earn income that is way more aligned with my actual effort, my skills, and the super thoughtful heart and soul that I put into my work. And the best part for me is that my client base is perfectly curated. I legitimately love every one of my clients and patients. And as a result of me not being burnt out or resentful and feeling secure in my income and the energetic exchanges occurring between us, everyone involved receives the thoughtful, comprehensive care that they deserve, including me. And I actually have time and energy left to be my whole self rather than being defined by my career only. My Concierge Vet Mastermind program gives you everything you need to build a sustainable practice that honors both your calling as a vet and your ability to live a balanced, fulfilled life. In just 6 months, I will personally guide you through my Compassionate Concierge method with exclusive on-demand training, along with private coaching and direct text access to me as though you were a member of my actual concierge practice. So you get to feel what it's like to be a client in my own concierge practice. You'll learn exactly how to structure, price, and market your services while skillfully and compassionately honoring your own boundaries. Plus, you'll join a super intimate community of like-minded veterinarians who are transforming their practices right alongside you. Do you want to learn a little bit more about what concierge vet practice is and if it's a good match for your goals before you commit? If so, check out my free Concierge Vet Starter Kit. Both links are in the show notes for you. Welcome to VetMed's best kept secret, and I'm sharing it all with you. I can't wait to see you inside. I wanted to, we were talking before I hit record, we were talking about like personal anecdotes of like these ridiculous things that happen. And you were telling me about a story with your keys, and you had kind of pointed out a post that I did a while back that I actually forgot about me in an Uber, and how that was like your favorite post. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot about that. I worked so hard to have these like insightful posts. And you're like, no, the one I really liked was like the Uber. Like, maybe, do you remember what was in that post? Like, maybe you can tell people like what it was that you perceived from it. Cause like, I remember it, but like it was on the top of your mind. So I'm curious your perception of it.
Well, your car had broken down and you're stuck and you had these appointments and so you went from A to B to C with an Uber driver. And I want to say you connected with him so much. Weren't you singing? Or it was like, what is happening here? But I get it. Just an average day as a mobile vet, like expect the unexpected. I thought it was great.
Yeah. No, that was the gist of it. The guy in the Uber happened to have his own Instagram account where he is like, he's like a singer, but he also like gets his guests in the Uber ride to sing with him, and he makes recordings and puts that up on Instagram. And he was like, do you want to sing with me? And I was like, no. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is everything. Like, if I say no to this, then fuck it off. Like, this is the moment of truth. This is what it's all about right here. So I sang out of tune. Like, I'm actually taking singing lessons, so I was pissed off at that in the recording. I sang out of tune. But I was like, this could have been really good. But that wasn't the point. The point was like this moment of just like sheer human connection and just like rolling with the punches, like you said. Like, that's the heart of it. So thank you for seeing me in that moment, and thank you for remembering that moment, because it was really like, it was sort of like quintessential like house call vet experience. You roll with it. So you had also been telling me in that same vein about like keys in the car. Can you tell me that story?
Yeah, I mean, as mobile vets and anyone who's listening, sometimes technology fails you. And so I had this Subaru. I graduated from the minivan to the Subaru, which, was great in many regards, except for two things. Just the batteries. I went through batteries. I broke down in a few driveways and blocked clients in and AAA, thank you again, getting a new one. But then it's something where you can turn on the car with your key in the car. But if your car's running, like in between appointments, I was in my neighborhood of my home and I ran in to use the bathroom, left the keys in my home, get to the next client. I'm calling my husband or I'm calling friends to go to my home, get the key and meet me in the driveway. And that happened. And everybody got me like that ring thing that makes sure you know your phone. And of course, it happened again. It happened again like a month later. Like, you actually need to use this technology that's there to help you. So that was just, it's annoying and it's funny now in retrospect, but we are veterinarians because I think for the most part, GPs, we like variety and house call. You wouldn't stay being a house call veterinarian if you didn't deal with the unexpected, which is every day. I mean, you wouldn't be doing it for very long. And it's sort of like, okay, if I can look back and laugh at anything, I will. And then I would tell the stories, and certain stories, people were like, tell that one again. And I feel like I'm sort of in part like a comedian that hones his stand up, like this story didn't work and this one did, or people want to hear serious and funny. And I said that a challenge, should you want to write a book, is there's telling a story and then there's putting it into writing, which isn't quite as easy until you're in it. So I learned all sorts of things in this process. But I had to edit out so many ridiculous stories because it's only one book. We just face them on a daily basis.
Do you think there'll be a sequel, like to tell all the rest of your stories? Like, there's so many.
I think that there should be. Now, I swore I'm never going to do this again, but now I've learned so much doing it that I think I definitely need to plan on that. It came out 6 months ago, so I'm still sort of promoting it and busy with that instead of more blogging, but I'm getting back into that. And I have a big promotion coming up. So look out for more nail book my voice. Videos about a lot of these posts that I'm doing as reels, because the other thing I'm passionate about is being, I say, a reliable source of veterinary information in a sea of misinformation. And it's frustrating because pet parents just want to learn to be the best pet parent they are. They want to learn about diets. They want to learn about, there's a never ending search for more information. And there are some people out there giving advice that is inaccurate or shouldn't be giving it or making recommendations. And I get very frustrated when I see not only support of that and people, it's dangerous, but then they're sort of, don't listen to your vet, listen to me. And it's like, enough. And I was silent, but now I'm no longer silent. So that's one of my missions, like trust your source. If somebody's selling you something and they're simultaneously trash talking vets, and oh, by the way, buy this instead, it should be a red flag. And there are several veterinarians who are doing the same thing, and I like supporting them and supporting each other. And add to that AI and all the stuff that is being generated with misinformation. It's a constant battle. And part of that was my book. It was people will relate to these stories if they've ever lived with a pet and love them. But I want them to see behind the scenes, sort of, this is how we feel. We're not in it for the money, because if we were, I have to imagine if I wanted a job just for money, it wouldn't be this. It's a bit of a long route, but because we care, we're passionate. It's not easy, but we do it because we love it and we want to help. And I hope that I got that message across in the book.
That's beautiful. That message is so needed. Like, I mean, as a profession, we're constantly battling that vibe of just in it for the money and constantly battling charlatans who are literally using AI that they didn't even come up with themselves to discredit and promote this story that vets are in it for the money. And like, what a mind fuck, really, and it's almost like, where do we start with this? But I find myself also very frustrated. I find that a lot of social media that it's very clearly AI generated. You can tell. It's clear as day. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's very clear to me. And I mean, you're an artist. You're obviously a writer as well. And, I mean, I think what's also interesting is like women in STEM and in science, like we're holding ourselves to a certain standard. And as you mentioned, like a veterinarian moving into a creative place and kind of going with a creative channeling process and holding ourselves almost to a different standard that's like, well, shit, this better really be good because other scientists and other people in STEM and other doctors are looking at this. It better be good. And so I don't know that maybe it's that people like you and I have an eye for this. Like we are actually secretly artists masquerading as, science oriented people. And we can be both. We can all be both. But I think to someone who's fairly empathetic, connects with others, has a capacity and a desire to create and to have a statement and put out a message to the world. When you see something that is AI generated, it's like is missing its soul. I don't know. That's the best way that I can put it. I don't know. How do you do? Do you feel like you have an eye for like when you're seeing this kind of thing?
Yeah, like how many seconds do I scroll away? Although sometimes I don't, and I make a big deal about it. But I 100% agree. I think that, and we are empaths, and I do think everyone needs a creative outlet. And sometimes it manifests in all different formats. And I always say, because I always joke that I was a science dork, like I was a biochemistry major, and I always loved all of that. But we can use both halves of our brain. And I'm proof of that. And so many, you don't have to just be right brain or left brain. And some are more than others. And I think that you can nourish that or change it. Like, for example, and I have an audiobook version of my book because it's very important to me because I was driving around. I had a lot of time to listen to books on tape, but I was extremely visual. I could tell you what page in vet school, handwritten, old school notes, like where this was. And I thought, never can I train my brain to be an audiobook listener. But it just became practical. And now it's probably 70% of the books that I read. And so that was another journey of learning. But it's just so as we get older, talking about technology, talking about starting a mobile practice in like, I was almost 50 when I started the practice. Like, who does that? I never wanted to have my own practice. But then I did. And then here I was. So when the time is right, never discount your ability to accept a challenge, particularly if your heart and soul is telling you this is, and I'm very intuitive that way. And then, so the business and then the book, and now I'm doing pet portraits, and which I'm living my best life. My husband's like, I want your life. And I bake my dog cookies and I'm selling art with, I have this whole line of stuff that I'm doing. And at first, it seemed a little silly, but my goodness, like people, I have to paint this pet for this person. And how great is that I have to do it. It's my job. So like with all of the mobile vets that are more in and around your age and benefiting from your academy and everything, I think that it's great. I love seeing it. I give you credit. I had 20 years experience before I started, but I did a lot of relief. So I had a lot of independent working. Didn't discover then this until late in my career. I'm thinking, God, where was this when I was like a new graduate? But I give young vets that are mobile vets like you, younger, a lot of credit because I would not have been comfortable doing this in my 30s. No way.
Wow, there's so much like good stuff that you shared with us there that I want to like pull on all the threads. Like I feel like so much of what you're talking about reminds me of The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron. Have you read that book?
Yeah, it's right over there on my shelf.
I was like, no, the things you're saying, like, how could you not have read it? Like, this is clearly, like, you're living that life. Like, that is one of my absolute most influential favorite books. And I think it helped me to understand that not only am I an artist and you're an artist, and like, I sort of had previously said, I'm going to say something paradoxical. I was like, well, we're scientists, but we're also artists, you and I. And I'm like, no, actually everyone's an artist. Like everybody has this desire and capacity to create in an expressive way. And we're just kind of doing it through the filter and through almost like the roundabout process of having gone through a science-oriented process and scientifically oriented learning steps and applying our creative capacity into a certain framework, right? But ultimately, we all have this like deep, like almost like divine assignment pull to share what we've learned. And, whether we have children or not, like our desire is to create almost legacy to pass on what we've learned, these hard lessons or these funny lessons. And I think it's really that everybody actually does have it within them. And I love that you're living that life. You are living your best life. Like you're in the art, you're in the, altruism and volunteering your time for people and like getting outside of yourself and humor. And like you said, you're like almost like operating as like a stand-up comedian, refining your routine and things like that. And I think that's so like the best, fullest expression of what it means to be a human that's alive, living their full life, and that not boxed in the way so many of us veterinarians can really feel and trapped and sort of like this contracted concept of even who we are, what we're capable of, and why we're here on this earth. I'm going deep now, but I'm just like really inspired by what you're saying and how you're living your life and how you're going after it, and you're not afraid to do it. And I think I hope she doesn't kill me, but there's a student from the House Call Vet Academy. Her name is Sarah, and she might kill me for mentioning this, but she just wrote a book about her experiences. And she's been kind of giving me updates on it. I'm so proud of her. And like, she said things like, I never thought there was like a book in me. And I recently wrote like a chapter in a compilation book. And then I got a flavor for like, ooh, I want a whole book. And, and I have actually, my client now is going to kill me. She's, her name is Susanna, and she's a professional writer and editor. She's like wonderful human being, fascinating person. I just like adore her. Like I feel sister vibes. And I've been like, you and we got to write something together. And she proposed, like, I always use this language of dog and cat time because I arrive to my appointments on what I call dog and cat time. Like, it takes how long it takes for me to work with this client. So I'll get to you when I get to you, and then I'll spend dog and cat time with you. Right. And she's like, she was interested in that. And she was like, why don't we write a book together called Dog and Cat Time? And I was like, oh, and potentially like expand even beyond like the veterinary relationship that we have and go in various directions. But I feel like this, like writing the story, telling the story like you did, like Sarah's doing, like I'm sort of dabbling in. I think that is so juicy and so like cutting right to what matters in this life. And so I'm so inspired by what you did and how your tentacles of all of the things you're interested in, you're really nourishing them and doing it. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sort of fortunate now that, because I split my time between two areas I'm back to doing relief work, but I can't really start a full-time job anywhere because I'm in two different states. But I have to mention something because, you talk about a lot about on this topic. The very first person in my acknowledgments was a friend of mine who I'd met who was a life coach. And this is really important for a lot of what you talk about, quality of life, mental health, avoiding burnout. I was burned out and I was in a small networking group through my accountant. And they encouraged us to get to know what other people did in the group. And I'm like, what's a life coach? And so my particular life coach, that this woman, Blair Turner, she had a different history that led to this, but she sort of had three different specialties, but one of which I'm like, I've let my business take over my life and helped me to creatively say no, and different little tips that were an enormous help for my mental health. But one of the things she said to me, and I credit her, she's like, what's your dream for 5 years and 10 years? And now, like, I'd love to write a book. She's like, how do you think, she kind of set me on this path, this nurturing, detail specific path. And I started taking my blog and writing rough drafts. And God bless her, like, I was like, I don't think I would have, you have these ideas, but certain people help you manifest them. And she did that for me. And this other editor who I love, her name is Bridget Boland and Modern Muse for Writers on Facebook. You can have her just edit, but they had these workshops and these incredible weekends where you find the book in you or just get started. And if you never publish it, but it kind of is that first step. And the next thing you know, your dream is like, here it is. I never thought that it would happen. And
Let's do that again. Flash that on the screen one more time. For people who are watching the YouTube version of this is the book. I want everyone to see it. It's beautiful.
And I'm an artist, and it took me a lot to use that word, but I did not paint this cover. They did a fabulous job, and I did have to edit. There were not enough cats represented, so particularly orange males who I adore. So I was with the She Writes Press, is a hybrid press. It's mainly women, which is how appropriate for our profession. But it was a good fit for me, and they did a wonderful job on the cover. And I wanted, I have this Dr. Dawn the pet vet. So this is, because we argued with different titles. Pet vet means probably not horses and cows, although that doesn't mean that they're not pets. So it evolved. I'm happy to burst my book into the world.
That's what it is at the birthing. It comes from like the deepest part of you. That's so beautiful. I love that you mentioned your coach. I love that you credit your coach in this process, because that's what I strive to do. I mean, it's sort of, I always talk about mobile practice, house call practice as almost like the vehicle for a greater transformation, like finding the real you, bringing the real authentic you front and center, and using the business as a tool to bring out more of your heart's desires, basically. So like, I kind of straddle the like life coach, business coach, alignment coach type of thing. And it's a little bit murky and crosses over multiple disciplines and things like that. But I mean, when you were saying, like, I don't know that I would have had the capacity to do this in my 30s, you would have. It's just a matter of like having the right support. And like you said, having a person who helps you bring to life what's already in you.
Right.
And so I love that story. I love hearing about your coaching experience. And I myself have had coaching for many, many years. And of course, like, I always want to call it like it's like MLM, like you get coaching and then all of a sudden you're like, well, this has changed my life so much that you put other things into the world. And then it's like a cycle of sorts where you help others as well in your own unique way with your own unique gifts.
Right. I think it's just so interesting in how I describe with my person, my husband is more introverted than I am, and he's a human doctor, but he works in research. And I always say he would die 1,000 deaths if he had to go into people's homes and chat with them and, okay, I'll have a cup of tea and go under a bed to get the stuff that we do. But I said, I found my professional home in other people's homes. And it took me 20 years to get to it. And it was, yes, I wish I had done it before, but I did it when I did it, and it was the right time for me. I do have one regret, which I talk about in the book, was that I didn't learn acupuncture. It would have before, and that would have been perfect. And I'm actually Reiki level 1 certified, which when an animal will allow me, I do it. If I don't have time, I don't do it. But so that aspect, but I think that it is a good companion or because I experienced it with my own pets. And so great for those out there that do it, because it helped my pets and patients enormously. Discovered it just a little later, personally discovered it later in my career, unfortunately.
Yeah, I relate to that actually. I do acupuncture, and that is actually the basis of my house call service. Like, I've expanded substantially around that, and now I offer, integrative as much as you can do in the home. But I have that similar regret in a way that I didn't discover acupuncture. I didn't know how to do acupuncture until after my heart cat Marigold passed away. I mean, I had learned actually, I was just learning, in the year that she passed away. So I did have the chance to place a few needles for her, but I didn't like really know what I was doing. And she's an orange girl. So I'm also with you on the orange cat thing. Like, all of my branding is now like orange-ish. So I'm right there with you with the orange cat. But yeah, I mean, acupuncture is a beautiful tool, and it's a beautiful very compatible modality to use with house call practice. I'm also Reiki certified. I don't really use it except for every very, very once in a while. But I think you're absolutely right. They're both like beautiful modalities to use together, to use in house call practice. And hey, now you know. I think that's really, really valuable that you shared that insight, actually. I think a lot of people who are doing there's a lot of overlap with people doing acupuncture and people doing house call. And there are people who are doing house call that are considering acupuncture. And I wanted to also add, people sometimes wonder, oh, this isn't going to be lucrative. I want to do acupuncture, but I can't charge appropriately for it. Oh, no. I'm just going to say right now that this can, if you swing it right, and you have the strategy around it, this can be, the driving force of your lucrative capacity. So just for our listeners, I did want to address that because I get that question often, often, often. It is possible for it not to be lucrative. It's also possible for it to be a loss leader, if depending on how you're using it in a business capacity. But I just wanted to point out that it is absolutely possible for this to really be profitable and sustainable in a house call capacity. So I'm really grateful that you brought that up because I think that's important for people to hear. So before we close up shop, is there any wisdom or advice or anything that you might like to share with new house call vets or house call vets that are building or right in the thick of it at the moment? Anything that you feel would be helpful to share?
Well, I think there's don't ever use your personal cell phone, which I started out, and that was my biggest regret. And your work cell phone, or if you have a service, turn it off at night, give yourself a mental break. Do not check messages until when you say you're checking them, because it can be the perfect job to avoid burnout if you don't do a few mistakes, which, as I always say, as in all things, I learned the hard way. Then you are a better you're a better vet. You come with 100% of your energy. You've hit your overnight reset button, and then you're your best self, and you can do your job, and you can separate your family life from your work life. And that took me a really long time to learn, but it was life changing for me. And I'm sure, and I know your message is that, and it's a work-life balance. It is easier said than done to achieve when you are your own boss and you come home and you have to write your records and you've got your other things. So prioritize yourself first and then your patient.
Absolutely. Yeah, bravo. That's a message that we can't say it often enough. I think that everyone needs to hear that. It's okay to set boundaries. It's necessary to set boundaries. Not just is it okay, it's like in order to keep doing this, you have to, right?
Agree.
Yeah, such good advice. Thank you for that so much. And one final question, since we are in the House Call Vet Cafe, can you tell me what is your favorite beverage or what drink might you like to order today? You can order booze, you can order tea, coffee. What would you like to have today?
It depends on the time of day, because I have to have coffee, sadly, or it brings me joy. And it helps me form sentences. But
Yes.
my favorite, I'm sort of addicted to this Aveda herbal tea. It's just their tea brand. And it is like every night, unless it's 115 degrees in Arizona, I'm sitting there with my meditative before bed tea. I should show you a picture of it, but just Aveda, Google it. It's amazing. Highly
Oh,
recommend.
it's delicious. What's in it actually? I mean, I imagine it tasted delicious. I don't know what's in it.
It's funny because there's a bunch of herbs. I don't even think it's anything as strong as like a Valeria, but I know there's like a licorice in it. And I don't really like licorice, but it doesn't taste like that at all. So don't be worried. And it's stronger than a chamomile. It almost has this little numbing effect on my tongue, for lack of a better word. It's just it's not sweetened. I don't sweeten it, but it almost has a little sweet aftertaste in it. It's hard to describe.
Is there kava in it? I found that has that numbing.
it might be there might be a little bit of kava. I should probably read the ingredients because I used to drink the kava tea with the, to help me sleep. If you look through my tea, it's like sleepy time, stress release. There's a theme here, but now above all others is my Aveda. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find, so I'll go back up. But so try it. I'm curious if you like it.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out. That sounds delightful. I've been about valerian root. That is like the most effective sleep aid. But kava I've also had really good experiences with too. It's a very like almost dreamy, like, what do I want to say? It's like you ate a bunch of poppies or something.
Sleeps are vivid.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much. This has been such a delightful conversation. We were able to cover so many sweet and inspiring subjects, and I'm so proud of you. Congratulations on your book. Thank you so much for reaching out to me to share it with me and to get feedback and things like that. That's such an honor, and I really wish you the best as you're promoting this book and in this book launch and everything, and thanks again for being here with me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your help in making the book what it is and spreading the word. And I think it's amazing. Great what you do. I love your podcast. I love the message. I'm so glad to see lots of mobile vets out there. It's a good thing. And thanks for taking the time today.
You're so welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the House Call Vet Cafe. If you enjoyed this episode, then hit the subscribe or follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never have to miss an episode. This podcast is made specifically for you, so don't be shy if you'd like to reach out and let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as The House Call Vet Academy, where I also share more valuable content. If you're interested in learning more about consulting for House Call Vets or the House Call Vet Academy online course and community, please click on the link in the show notes. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I can't wait for you to join us for our next episode of the House Call Vet Cafe.